We are at a business meeting and a motion has been made, but it's not quite right. Some members would like to change the wording a bit to make the motion better fit the group's needs. Other members want to add more specifications onto the original motion. But how do members go about making these edits? That is the process of amend, one of the most utilized subsidiary motions. So let's make some changes. The deliberative assembly of the Farm Animal Society has been brought to order, and the Food Committee has brought a motion to the floor. The group feels that food should be guaranteed to all every day, and so they put forward this motion for the Farm Animal Society to consider. The motion reads, resolved that all residential farm animals at Synod Farms shall be fed at 5 o'clock a.m. and 5 o'clock p.m. The pig seconds the motion because anything with food sounds like a good discussion to be had. The motion is open for discussion. The members consider this motion. Some nod their heads in agreement, but others aren't so sure. This motion sounds good at first, but some animals see a few problems. The hens, always a bit persnickety, think the motion's wording is a bit redundant. There are no non-residential animals to be considered here, and so the words residential farm in this motion are not necessary. They are quick to cluck up that they would like to amend the motion to remove the words residential farm before the word animals. The motion would read instead, resolved that all animals at Synod Farms shall be fed at 5 o'clock a.m. and 5 o'clock p.m. The rooster seconds the motion, agreeing that this amendment to the motion should be discussed. Now the animals must decide. Would they like to keep or reject that change to the motion? They are focused only on the change itself, not the entire motion. The chair opens the floor to discussion, but there is very little. Overall, most seem satisfied with this change and nod in approval. The chair senses that everyone is ready to vote, so the chair calls the vote, and the motion to amend passes. Now, the motion on the floor to be discussed reads as follows, thanks to the hens' attention to detail. Resolved that all animals at Synod Farms shall be fed at 5 o'clock a.m. and 5 o'clock p.m. Super! Everyone feels good about this. Remember, the vote on the motion itself has not been taken yet. The only action done so far is to change the wording to make the motion better in the eyes of the members. So are all the animals ready to vote now? Nope. Wait. The cat is second to meow his disapproval, surprising no one. What, he wants to know, will he be fed? This motion is too vague, he complains. With this motion, the ducks might be fed hay. The cows might be fed dog food. And what would he be fed? He doesn't want to risk the chance of being fed anything but his favorite tuna. So he wants to change the amendment by inserting some additional information. He says the following: I'd like to make a motion to amend. I propose we insert the words meals fitting of their species after the word fed, so that the motion reads, resolved that all residential farm animals at Synod Farms shall be fed meals fitting of their species at 5 o'clock a.m. and 5 o'clock p.m. The cow seconds the motion, and the chair opens discussion on the amendment, which in this case, as a reminder, is an insertion. Should the animals accept or reject this change to the motion's wording? Again, they are not debating as to whether or not to set the feeding schedule or the main motion. They are only debating whether it makes sense to add the cat's proposed wording to the motion. So discussion begins, and a few animals speak in support. The cow, especially, nearly gags at the thought of eating dog food and calls the question because it's clear to her that everyone has made up their mind. It's time to vote. The animals pass this motion to insert the cat's words, but it's not unanimous. The goats are still open to eating anything, and they really don't care what they're being fed as long as they are being fed. Still, the motion only needs a majority to pass, which it received. So the motion has been officially changed to read as follows: Resolved that all animals at Synod Farms shall be fed meals fitting of their species at 5 o'clock a.m. and 5 o'clock p.m. Most animals are now ready to vote on the main motion, but sure enough, here comes Duck. Duck waddles up to the mic. He considers himself quite smart, as he has waddled into the farmer's home on more than one occasion and read the newspaper. All the animals roll their eyes, but as Duck is a member of the society and therefore has equal voice and vote, he is entitled to speak. So he does, and he proposes the following amendment. Yes, I'd like to make a motion to strike out the word meals and replace with the words gastronomical delights. He smugly returns to his seat. The motion is seconded by the horse because she is always game for a good tussle, and so the discussion begins. The chairman opens the floor for discussion. The cue to speak against the motion starts with 10 animals. No one is at the opposite mic to speak for the motion other than Duck. After 3 speakers, and seeing the against cue begin to get longer and wrap around the horse stalls, the chair decides it's best to call the question and take the vote. When the vote is tallied, all the animals except for Duck have voted against this motion, so it does not pass. The wording, therefore, remains the same as it was. Resolved that all residential farm animals at Synod Farms shall be fed meals fitting of their species at 5 o'clock a.m. and 5 o'clock p.m. Finally, with no more amendments coming forward, it's time to actually debate the main motion. The chair opens the discussion, but it's clear by now that everyone is ready to vote, and they do. In the end, the voting members of the Farm Animal Society vote unanimously to pass legislation that ensures being fed with appropriate meals at specific times. And everyone's happy, especially the cat. As you can tell, amendments can draw out the process of voting on motions. As voting members, you have every right to make changes to motions that are on the floor, but it's also best to think through those changes that you are going to propose very carefully so that you do not take up additional time that is unnecessary. It's a fine balance, but as voting members, don't be afraid to speak up and use this process of amend to make the business just right for your organization. Remember, Robert's rules depend on you using them. So go out there and don't be afraid. Good luck.